Now I'm going to talk to you about unfair sales secrets, persuasion, and influence on a whole new and dominating level than you've ever seen before. You know, power is attraction. I want you to attract everything you want. I want you to attract obedience to your commands. I want you to attract compliance to your orders. I want you to attract cooperation and favor. I don't want you to have to promote it. Does that make sense? Power is attraction. Power is attractive. Attractiveness is power. Now, I'm not talking about vanity or how you look. I'm talking about communication. Remember how we talked about everything is expression. Everything is communication. The way you dress, the way you walk, the way you think, the energy you put out, and the words you use, their tonality. Everything is expression, and everything is communication. And every relationship is expression, and every relationship is communication. Bruce Lee called fighting a relationship. Imagine that. You're out on the street and you get in a fist fight, a brawl with somebody, you're knocking the tar out of each other, and that's a relationship. But everything is a relationship. And when you see all of life and everything as a manifestation, as an expression, then you know that you can master communication, master expression, and through that master yourself and master others. Every relationship is communication. So you can use it for sales if you're a stockbroker or a realtor or someone selling skyscrapers or someone selling newspaper subscriptions. It doesn't matter. Everything, what it comes down to it, is communication, not sales. Think about the connotations. Oh, are you a salesman? Okay? Because the unenlightened think of the word salesman as a used car salesman or a sleazy salesman or a huckster of some sort or some loser with a tie and a briefcase trying to push something on you. How stupid. The truth is, it all comes down to communication. Everything is sales and everything is communication. All relationships are communication. Families, relationships with your lover, relationships with your parents, with your children, all of that is expression. And when you are able to communicate, it ensures vision and harmony in your personal relationships. Now in sales, or whatever your line of work is, communication is cash. Communication is cash in whatever field you work in. Ultimately, it comes down to everything that you do. Communication. It's wealth. So if you're not getting what you want from other people, if you're not getting what you want from other people, whether it's clients signing up or getting a date or your kids doing their homework or cleaning their room or your in-laws not respecting you, whatever it is, if you're not getting what you want, if others are not doing what you want, it's because what you're putting out, what you're expressing, what you're communicating is fun or easy to say no to. If you're not getting what you want from other people, if other people are not doing what you want, it's because what you're putting out, what you're expressing, what you're communicating is fun to say no to or easy to say no to. Have you ever seen someone that's hard to say no to? Have you ever seen that? Or read something that you just couldn't argue with? You've probably seen some masterful communicators, I know we all have, and you wonder, how do they do it? Maybe they've never been in sales or had training, but they just have this personality that's very hard to say no to. And they don't have to lie. And they don't have to cheat or mislead. They just have a force. Well, if you study this DVD carefully and the entire course, you'll have that force. Be hard to say no to by intuitively understanding human nature and human communication. Be hard to say no to. How? By intuitively understanding human nature and communication and having an authority energy. An authority energy. Now, what do I mean by having an authority energy? Ultimately, it comes down to this. You need to believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing. Believing in what you want, in other words, what you're asking for. Whether it's your kids doing their homework, or someone signing a 10-year lease on a skyscraper, or someone buying that $2 million home from you, or closing a deal, or signing up and becoming your client, whatever it is that you're trying to get the other person to do, you have to believe inside of you that that is the best thing for them, and that you are the best thing for them in that field. You have to believe in you. That's the first thing. You have to have it inside of you. Then you have the authority of conviction. So if you're a scam artist, it's not going to work. Falsehood becomes transparent after a while. If you don't believe in yourself, if you doubt yourself, you can pull yourself up and push yourself through a weak moment or a moment of doubt. You can do that. However, eventually you'll gain muscle on your legs and be able to carry your own weight of conviction. Okay? So having an authority energy. I call it polite like a police officer. Now, when there's a police officer in a uniform, there's just a certain authority energy, isn't there? There's a certain respect, there's a certain quiet, and if he says, stand over there, please, then you do that. Now, you can have the same sort of deportment. So when you could say, go ahead and write this down, or don't come by between those hours. If you can say it with such an authority that they don't even realize that they have to do what you say. Why? Now you say, well, a police officer has an authority, doesn't he? If he says stop, he's got that badge on. Certainly your car could run over a man, but that badge represents the full weight of the law, doesn't it? And so, stop. But inside of you, when you have your inner warrior force, you have the same authority, the same conviction. It's all real. When you carry that inner strength, you'll carry yourself in such a way that you'll find life unfolding for you and just opening right up. You can have, one way of authority energy is polite like a police officer. Now you can do that to intimidate someone into buying your product or service or complying with your request, or you can use it to make someone feel comfortable. Comfort. Making someone feel comfortable. That's one of the keys to persuasion, is just making them comfortable, whether you're talking about seduction or whether you're talking about selling products or services, whether in person or over the telephone or via the internet. It's about making someone feel comfortable. Now, you don't want them to feel comfortable in their apathy, so you often have to use pressure and persuasion in a certain way. Ultimately, in this DVD, I'm going to get you beyond technique. And we've talked about that before. When you become an intuitive closer, an intuitive killer, you can just sit, boom, and go right for it. You know, I've met a manager one time at a car dealership, and this guy was just a well-oiled killing machine. And he was so good at what he was doing. I was on the fence as to whether I was going to buy this car. I wanted it, but I knew I didn't need it. I had the money, but I could put my money to better use. You know what I mean? I was on the fence. And this guy was just such a well-oiled machine. It was intuitive. He sat back on the table with his feet up on his desk. And he said, well, and he just natural flow. And there was such beauty there, I almost wanted to weep out loud and just buy the car to reward him. But I didn't. But the point is, anybody else would have had to buy from this guy. I mean, it was that good. And you can be that good, beyond script, beyond techniques. Let me tell you something. It's like this. Scripts and techniques are training wheels on a bike. They're training wheels on a bike, like kata in karate. You move here, you move here. They say, he does this, you do this, right? Now that's just training wheels because, you know, in a real fight, all that goes out the window, okay? And it's the same thing. How do you stop a moving train? Do you directly oppose it? No. What we're talking about is being beyond technique. It's being genuine. Scripts and techniques are canned. Now they have a purpose, don't they? They have a purpose. You learn the ropes, you learn your product, you learn how to communicate it. But then, you throw it away. Bruce Lee said that at the end of his book, The Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Basically, toss it like toilet paper. Why? Because it's like rocket fuel on a spaceship. It gets up beyond the atmosphere and then ejects the tank. It no longer needs it. It's flying now. So scripts and techniques are training wheels, and I want you to get beyond technique and start having an intuitive feel for understanding. Then you become genuine instead of canned. Remember, they're training wheels. And once you ride a bike, once you learn how to ride a bike, if there weren't any obstacles, if you were just on a clear concrete surface for miles around you, you could ride that thing with your eyes closed, couldn't you? Just like tying your shoe. Simple. You could ride a bike with your eyes closed if you know how to ride a bike. Why? No training wheels needed, because you're intuitive now. With the exception of the obstacles, so you ride a bike and you keep your eyes open. Keeping your eyes open when you ride a bike and everything flows. And I can show you now how to close the sale, how to get compliance, how to get obedience, how to get willful submission as easy as riding a bike. Now, the number one thing, there are only 5 steps here. Oh, 7, pardon me, 7. I've got formulas for everything, don't I? This right here is the formula. The formula to get obedience, to get compliance, to get willful, gleeful, yes, take my body, yes, take my money, yes, I'll do my homework, yes, getting to yes. Now, right here, number 1 is you, controlling you. If you have no control over yourself, you won't be able to control others. Well, now, I know what you're thinking. You know an alcoholic or a complete fat idiot who can go in and close any deal anytime. I understand that, because in that area, inside of them, they've linked control to the process of the sale, and they're doing it in the subconscious. Remember, we have the primitive, the mechanical, and the subconscious. PMS. Okay? The primitive, the mechanical, and the subconscious. Now, I've explained this to you before. Like tying a shoe. When a 6-month-old or even a 3-month-old sees his dad tying his shoe, he is an unconscious incompetent. He's unconscious about shoe tying, doesn't know about it. And he's incompetent. He doesn't know how to tie a shoe. Then maybe he's 2 or 3 years old, and he watches his dad tie a shoe, maybe he's 3 or 4, and he understands what shoe tying is. He can even say, tie shoe, but he doesn't know how. So he is now conscious, but he's incompetent, a conscious incompetent. Then maybe a 6 or 7-year-old, I don't know, can fumble around and make big loops and take 5 minutes, but darn it, tie the shoe. They become a conscious competent. They know how, they're aware of it, and they know how to do it. But now you as an adult, you don't even have to look or think about it. Boom, boom, you tie a shoe. You have become an unconscious competent, and that is the level here we need to get you. Scripts are here, they're for the primitive. Okay? Primitive, mechanical, and subconscious. Subconscious, this is the mastery level for all persuasion and influence. Listen closely and listen carefully. Number 1 is controlling you. That S, by the way, also stands for the spirit. Now, do you remember the victory ball? When you take that image of you and you put it right here in a silver ball, and you put the image of you just as you want to be, ripped with washboard abs, strong, making money, kicking ass, and taking names. You see that perfect you and you put it in this silver ball or this crystal ball, and you see it right in the center of the ball. You reach out and you grab it and you put it right inside you. Now you can have little techniques and tricks to get yourself in the right state to control you. It's called a power move. You may have seen it in a Tony Robbins video where power moves to get you in state. Okay? So whatever yours is, I like that victory ball, putting that image right inside me before you sit down to pick up the phone or before you step into a meeting. Okay? Or any time you're in an uncomfortable situation with a person who's made you uncomfortable and who has been resistant to your requests. Now, number 1 is controlling you, okay? Number 2, and this is where we start to get serious here, and this is called reading energy. You read energy. Now listen to me very carefully. It is very important that you do not emotionally intuit. You don't emotionally process. You don't use emotions to read energy. You don't run it through your emotional filter. In other words, when you read someone's energy, you don't feel about it, and you don't care how you feel about it. Follow what I'm saying now. Reading energy is commonly known as rapport. Okay? And that means to gain communication and gain talk and gain flow with someone, gain understanding and gain a little harmony. Okay, but we're going to go way beyond that. I promise that what you see in this DVD, you haven't heard before. It would almost be impossible. Why? Because this has all come from years of experience and training. Much of what I've learned here, I've learned through experience. I've told you some of the stories on my prior DVDs. Do you know that one time in one phone call, I closed a $60,000 deal? Now, at 20%, that's not too bad, is it, for a single phone call? However, you're probably thinking to yourself, you wouldn't get out of bed for 60 grand. That's okay. If you're in that stratosphere, it doesn't matter. The principles apply. If you're selling your services, if you're selling your seminars to corporations, or your security services to corporations, or your bodyguarding services to corporations, or your instructional and education services to corporations, do you see? Whatever it is you're selling, I have no idea. Maybe you're selling small businesses, your specialty products. It doesn't matter what it is. You can skyrocket and double your income every year, and I've shown you how in another DVD, haven't I? Now, pay attention closely. Reading energy. You want to access their brain. Okay? Now, this is actually a small step. Reading energy. Okay, they call it rapport, but a little more to it than that. Reading energy should just be very quick. I see just what I'm dealing with. It's no different than you going into a doctor and he looks at you and he says, stick your tongue in. Oh, okay, I know exactly what this is. I've seen it a million times this year already. You see what I'm saying? Or you come and you hear a really good mechanic start the engine. Oh, okay, I know just what that is. That belt is out. And you also need a filter here, just instantly. And it's the same sort of thing. And you can learn to read people just like the mechanic reads the car or the doctor reads the person's illness. And you're going to learn it right here and right now. And you have been learning it through the other DVDs, haven't you? We've talked about storming the mind castle. Storming the mind castle. Okay, so access the brain. How do you access the brain? Well, some people say, well, all your communication is left brain, or all your fact finding is left brain, all your creativity is right brain, right? Who knows, okay? But if you ask questions, you can see where they're going. For example, if you say something like, isn't this beautiful? And they lean forward, then you can see that they're taking that in. But if you say, isn't this beautiful? And they go, then you can see that they're not taking that in. They're reserving, they're holding back. Do you see what I'm saying? Reading body language. Now, body language of that nature, okay? You do all this